Welcome to the Off the Track Initiative podcast, the podcast dedicated to bringing a more modern, conscious perspective to the re-educating and rehabilitating of off-the-track thoroughbreds. My name is Kate LeMay Robbins, thoroughbred racing steward, dressage enthusiast, and thoroughbred advocate. Each fortnight, I will be sharing with you inspirational stories and knowledge from a variety of professionals who are on a mission to make a difference within the equestrian world. Okay. So thanks. Today I've got Steph Hann with me. Steph Hann is a talented South Australian dressage and event rider who's been riding for most of her life. Some of Steph's career highlights up to date are being selected onto the National Youth Squad here in South Australia. She was also selected on the Young Rider Oceania team to represent Australia in New Zealand. And last year won the Tasha Kazam Trophy for the second year in a row and was also named on the South Australian Senior State Squad for eventing, which she's still a part of with her off-the-track horse, Wally. So thank you, Steph, for joining me today and having a chat.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate the time you've taken to come out and visit and have a sit down and a talk. So I guess a good place to start is the beginning and how you got into horses, or if your family was involved with horses.
Yeah. So my family's always been a horse family, mainly dressage. So my grandmother was a dressage judge, and she was heavily involved in that. Mum used to work in the racing industry and broke horses in, worked with Arabs as well. So
Okay.
sort of
A
very horsey family.
Yeah.
Dad's side of the family know nothing about horses,
okay.
except for stay away from the dangerous ends.
Yeah, well, that's good to know.
Yeah, it's come very handy. So I've always been around horses, but I first started riding them when I was 6.
Mm-hmm.
So my grandmother gave me a lesson for my 6th birthday with a local sort of riding place, and it kind of started from there. And I've had a lesson a week for a while, and then it kind of, as it does, it tumbles into the whole, can I have a horse? Can I have a horse? And you've got to do all this stuff first, and then sort of.
Yeah, so tell us about your first horse.
So my first pony was Harmony,
Mm-hmm.
who was sort of 12-2 riding pony across everything else.
Yep.
So she was really good. I just remember her being a plotter,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the most proud thing that we ever did together was we came 3rd in the pleasure hack at Macclesfield
Okay,
in Coventry. That was amazing. That was the most incredible
You got a
thing.
ribbon.
I got a ribbon. We got $3 prize money.
Wow.
It was just
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
And we didn't really do much other than just hack around.
Yeah, and how long did you have her for?
So I would have had her for a few years, like riding,
Mm-hmm.
and then the overlap between her and the next horse kind of maybe was a year and a half, and then she semi-retired with us, and then she went and had a lease with another young girl.
So she was the first horse that you learnt sort of walk, trot and canter, got out to a few shows.
Yeah, one show.
One show?
It was just that one.
Okay,
And I was
just that one.
terrified.
And how old were you at that stage, do you think?
Oh, 10-ish.
Okay.
Like really, little.
Really young.
And she was, so I obviously had sort of rode school horses before her.
Yeah.
But she was the first one that was sort of mine.
Yeah. And so then your next horse that you moved on to?
Yeah, he was a Arab mutt.
Okay, yeah, as most ponies
As
are.
most
type
ponies
size.
are. And he was the school horse for where I learned to ride. So
Okay.
we
Cool.
leased him for a little while, and then he was a Christmas present Mum and Dad
Aw.
managed to buy him.
It's like every little girl's
Every
dream.
little girl's
yeah.
dream. You walk up to the stable
A
and
pony
there's
for
the
Christmas.
bow on the
Oh, was
horse, and it was just like, oh, it's Kimber. And that was pretty amazing. And I did my first event on him, like 50 centimetres.
Yep.
And I think he really resented going faster than
Oh, did
slow
he?
canter.
Yeah,
He was a perfect sort of learning horse. If you felt you start to slide off, he took that as an excuse to stop.
Yep.
Like he was
good boy.
brilliant.
So you did pony club with him?
Yeah, so I never really got into the pony club
Yeah,
system.
no, even did I. So
I just found
neither
it.
did I.
I wanted to, like, I pushed Mum really hard. Like, I want to go to pony
Yeah.
club. I want to ride with other people, but I just didn't get into it.
Yeah,
It
so
just-
how did you then sort of get into eventing, I guess, not going through the pony club system.
No, yeah. So we had a homebred mare that was sort of going to be Mum and my bonding project. So Mum was going to teach me about the whole raising thing. So she was actually out of and off the track.
Okay.
And she's a delight, Malika, but she's a whole different kettle of fish.
You've got no one to blame if she's homebred.
No. So she ended up being more of a handful than we were anticipating.
Okay.
So she went to get broken in by who's now a friend of ours, and through the Wendy Schaefer's sort of stable system. So Rochelle broke her in.
Oh yeah, that's Rochelle Verma.
Yeah. And she, through there and also school, had a riding program. So they kind of came together at the same time that.
What school did you go to?
Pembroke.
Okay, oh nice.
Yeah.
I didn't realise they had a riding.
They do, and they've gotten more like better and better. And sort of wish I was going to school now because I could have taken advantage of it. And so we had a couple of lessons with Wendy and talking to Di and Nikki, who used to work there. She was like, "Oh, we have a school pony," because Kimber was getting old. Okay. Jumping was just an effort.
Yeah, and I guess it was at about the time you sort of realised that, you quite like jumping and want to head down that path? Or?
It was more, I always wanted to do dressage.
Yeah.
So it was more just experience in that sort of stable and learning.
Okay.
A whole principle has been be a professional in everything you do, even if you aren't a professional. So don't.
It's a great mantra.
Shortcuts or things like that.
Yeah, I like that.
So it was kind of like, spend some time with a professional and learn how you plan your day, look after your horses, the level of detail that goes into it.
Yeah, and again, this was sort of high school
age. So this would have been year 8 or 9.
Yeah, okay.
So I rode Aussie, who was off the track that they'd sort of their school horse, and he was really cool. So I did my first events on him.
That's a great then to have a horse that had that experience and
he was the one that kind of kicked off the jumping's fun.
Yeah, and I guess being in Wendy Schaefer's sort of stable, you're surrounded by
the jumping and there's
eventing
something about the competition atmosphere of a stable like that.
Yeah,
it just everything's exciting and busy and thrilling.
Yeah, and I guess everyone's got plans and goals and
everyone's working towards it and they're happy to help, and that's what I love about the eventing is that even though you're competing directly against someone, they'll come and help you.
It's a great sort of culture, isn't it? The eventing
the
culture.
Helping and those sort of things. I love it.
Yep. Okay, so you sort of ended up there and that's how you started eventing. So then who was your next horse?
That was Wally.
So that was Wally. So this is the horse that we're sort of here to talk about today mostly.
Yeah,
so Wally's,
special.
And he's still your mount today.
Yeah.
So Wally's an off-the-track thoroughbred.
Yeah.
And he raced under the name that you've kept him as through his eventing career.
Yeah, True Celebre.
And why did you keep his race name, or that was just from where you got him?
A little bit of superstition.
Yes, I'm the
so
same.
Yeah,
change the name.
So I know Mum didn't like the name Wally because, I mean, he's a bit of a Wally, but she didn't like the sort of the connotations of it. It's like, it's like a boat. You can't change their name.
Yep.
It's bad luck. It's bad luck. That first year we were very unlucky, so so we actually bought him as a horse that I could just kind of make mistakes on to prepare for Malika, the homebred.
Yep.
Wally just ended up being
the horse.
The horse. So he injured himself in the first couple of months that we had him. Okay. So he ran into a cross-country jump in the first training session. How
old was he when you...
Well, I got him when he was 9.
When he was 9, and he'd been off the track. So I had a look up on his record, and he came off the track in 2008. That was his last race in Geelong.
Yeah.
So roughly how long after that did you
We bought him in 2012.
Okay.
End of 2012.
So he'd been off for a little while, letting down and doing off-the-track stuff.
Yeah. And some girl at Mildura had done a 50 or 60 on him and just said he's nuts.
Oh, really? So where was he advertised? Like, how did you sort of come across him?
Mum found him on Miles Horse.
Yeah, that's still going strong.
It's still going strong, yeah. It's a good place to find horses.
It is. I know. I browsed through at work and I'm like, I shouldn't be looking. I shouldn't be looking.
Never look at the horses. It's too tempting. Oh, I'd have so many horses in the paddock.
I know. I can totally relate to that. So.
Yeah.
So did you drive over to Mildura to look at him?
Yeah, we made the mistake of taking the float with us.
Oh, that's committing, isn't it?
It was, yeah. And Mum said, look, now just because we have the float and Dad came with us does not mean we have to take him home. I think if we didn't have the float, I wouldn't have taken
Oh,
him.
really? So how many rides did you have on him? Sort of, what was your first ride on him like?
It was messy. I remember jumping in the dressage saddle and it was just a mess, but he jumped the jump and we kind of
made your way through it.
He did everything. He didn't get me off. He didn't try and get me off.
So not much education.
No, it was kind of sort of 20-metre circles, a little bit difficult.
Yeah. So 9-year-old off the track that just,
stiff.
Yeah.
Sort of pull on one rein, it kind of goes in that way.
Yeah.
Pull on the other and he kind of goes in that direction.
So maybe it was a good thing in the end that you took the float.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, thinking about it now, I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have Wally.
Yeah.
Like, the other horses we were looking at were sort of near the end, like nearing retirement. And sort of kind of, we still had a dressage focus.
Yeah.
And even with Wally, it was a bit of a dressage focus, which then kind of just evolved.
Yeah. Because and at that time, because not what everyone might know is your dad actually is at the races, every race meeting, because he's a photographer.
Yeah.
Was he doing that then? Like, so he would be looking at thoroughbreds every day.
Yeah, every day he's got that, and I do some of the photo work as well. So I look at the horses and think, I've got a list of horses. And I'm like, oh, Dad, keep an eye out for that one because I really like that.
Yeah, I was a trainer when that one sort of, and you keep track of their record going, oh, it hasn't been doing very well lately.
Keep on doing that so I can have you.
Or else one that I really like, I'm like, I don't have space here, like you're going to have to keep racing for a bit longer.
A little bit longer, or just take a bit of a spell and I'll take it.
Yeah, so a whole family trip over.
Yeah.
You brought Wally home.
Yep. And he was bonkers on the drive home.
Was he?
He was neighing and shaking the float, and we thought as we were driving up the freeway to home, we thought, what have we bought? Oh my gosh. And the first few months were a little bit hairy because he was a bit sort of, I barely knew anything.
Yeah.
And he was barely knew anything. So we were learning together, which everyone says don't do that.
Yeah.
But I was really lucky. I had good instructors.
Yeah. So who have been your big influencers?
So Nikki Moore, who's now Nayland, she was the first person that sort of started the competition side of things. So I started learning with Karen Craig.
Yes.
So she was the first initial, and then we went to Nikki, and Nikki ran away to Mildura, which still rankles. And the night she was leaving, this is one of the great coincidences of the world, the night she was leaving to go to Mildura, she was at the pub and was chatting to, who's my now instructor, Lucy Williams.
Oh, yes, yep.
And they trained the same system in England.
Oh.
So Nikki called us up and was like, now I don't know anything about this woman.
Yeah.
But I met her and she seemed good and she's trained a level higher than me. Give her a crack because we hadn't found anyone.
Yeah.
And
Lucy's great.
Lucy's fantastic.
Yeah.
So she's been with us.
Picked up, and continued on.
Without her.
It's weird how things like that happen, isn't it? So So you started competing, Wally, just dressage to start with?
Yeah, so he, after that injury training, the vet, so we found out that he had a cracked fetlock.
Oh,
which
so pretty significant.
Pretty significant thing. So it was an old crack, and we thought that the lameness came from a splint, which we still don't know what it was.
Yeah.
And the vet said, look, don't jump him. Maybe 50 centimetres, but just don't jump him. He's not your competition horse, which obviously was pretty shattering.
Yeah,
so that was a year of dressage. Without that year, I think we'd be pretty average. Like that.
So you think that was a good foundation?
Really, really good. For me, I discovered how much I actually like dressage and the technical aspects of it. And Wally put up with it.
Yeah.
But after we had a second opinion from another vet because we started to do little grids and stuff just to keep us interested. And Wally really liked it.
Okay, so you sort of found
this is really fun. And the vet said, look, there is a risk, but it's a risk that maybe he'll be a paddock horse.
Yeah. And
he will tell you when he's not happy. So we just thought, we'll go really slowly. We'll be really conscious on building up strength and making sure everything lines up and all the x-rays come together and, all the those extra careful things.
Yeah.
and he's just kept on going.
And kept improving and
Yeah.
going up the grades.
And going up grades and loving it, and he's never had a lame day except for a couple of very costly days.
Yeah,
Which of course is how it goes.
Yes, that's it with horses and eventing.
Absolutely.
So do you think in hindsight, if you had another off the track, you'd have that foundation of doing a lot of dressage with them before you started putting them over poles and jumps? Or?
I reckon I'd include poles and sort of cavaletti, those sort of things, at the start. And I think I know more as a rider now that perhaps the jumping can come in a bit sooner, and I know more about the exercises and stuff you can use for jumping.
Yep.
That can help improve the dressage.
Yeah.
And sort of dressage to help improve the jumping, rather than just setting up a single jump in the arena and going and jumping it and going around and going again. Yeah.
That's it. Okay, cool. And so at what point he started doing poles and grids, and then what was your first event like on him?
Pretty crazy. So we'd done up to about elementary dressage together.
Okay. So we had a pretty good foundation.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Then looking back on it, I mean, I pity the judges that had to judge those tests. Like, they were quite messy. They were quite lenient on us reading the comments as well.
Yeah, okay.
But we did our first event our first Pony Club event was at Roskill, in the grade 5, and wild, but it was okay.
Yeah, so you got through it, and is he quite an honest horse over jump? So he doesn't refuse, he just
goes. The only problem we had was stitches.
Yeah,
they were a big problem. Our first EA event was at Monarto. I think we got 48% in the dressage.
Yeah.
With the fastest show jumping round of the day.
Okay, so, yeah.
Very fast.
In true thoroughbred style, like that. I mean, they're designed to go quick.
Speed. And bold as anything cross country. I can count on one hand the amount of problems we've had cross country in his whole career. So he's very, very special in that way.
Yeah. And do you think that's what's got him to these high levels, that he's just so honest and
bold, and he forgives me for all these stupid mistakes that I've made, and he gets me out of trouble, and he just keeps on going. I think that's that, and is just his heart for it.
Yep. So he just kept progressing up the grades. Do you have any sort of intent to do that, go eventing, or?
I thought we might be lucky if we got to 95.
Yep.
I thought, this will be my 95 horse. This is so cool. And then we got into 95 and we're playing around there, and then I think it was Wendy said, "You're going to move him up." I thought,
I guess so.
Yeah. And I mean, we were trudging along the bottom of this. We were double clear jumping, but dressage was
average. But so often you see that these horses at those levels that sort of just get around, but then they move up and they just come into a league of their own. And
I think for thoroughbreds, I think when because they don't have that natural warm blood movement, like they just can't. They struggle to compete at the prelim novice level, where really you're relying quite heavily on natural movement.
Yeah.
When you get sort of elementary and up,
all the technical stuff comes in, and
you can gain. So you just squeeze all the points you can out of the judges.
Yeah.
For just accurate. They can't take points away because you're so accurate.
Yeah.
That's kind of been our goal and a focus.
So just that's a good thing to point out, I guess, as well, that where you lack, you've got to find points in other areas. And the thoroughbreds are like, I think a lot of people don't realise how much they go through at the track and sort of trials and race day. Like they can deal with quite a lot. Like even the ones that maybe can't cope with pressure that well still put up with a lot on race day.
And that's, I think, what made sort of Wally so good for me, is he put up with some poor riding for me. Like I was learning and he was learning, and there was some just like, you didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
But you did. Good boy.
They're very forgiving.
They're amazing creatures.
Not like ponies that will just take advantage of you.
Yeah, like, oh, you're not paying attention. I'm going to go eat some grass.
Or
even the warm bloods who are just, they're
just everything about them is a bit slower, isn't it?
A bit slower, a little bit less sort of, what do you want to do? I'll do it. I'll come with you and I'll help.
Well, that's it. I'm finding like I've got a really sensitive thoroughbred out there, and although he's such a pain at the moment while he's in his baby phases, I'm like, one day, I keep telling myself, one day I'm going to really appreciate how sensitive you are.
Yeah, one day it'll happen.
Yeah, that's it. When you sort of see, like, with the warm bloods, how everything's a bit slow to catch on, like, the thoroughbreds, you just shift slightly, and they're like, oh, my God, where do you want to go?
I'm on it. And that's what makes him so good, like, jumping.
Yeah.
Because my little, can't own him, but a little warm blood that I have, he's really talented in all other aspects, but he's just a little bit slow on his feet. Whereas Wally gets in and he's so quick off the ground, and he's so quick with his knees, and you always feel like he'll try and get out of the way.
Yeah, they're clever and they can work things out a lot quicker. And I guess like with the warm bloods, you can train that into them eventually, but the thoroughbreds just kind of already have it there.
You can skip that step, which is always nice.
And they'll try and work it out because they want to avoid pressure, so they just keep trying. Whereas, other horses just give up. Like, I don't know what you want.
I don't know what you want. You can keep kicking.
I'll just block you out. Okay, cool. So he started going up the grades, and I guess you did your first 1-star and then 2-star, and he just kept going. And did you have any significant highlights as he was on his way up?
Yeah, so he did. We won our first ever event at Hills and Barossa in the 105 back 2016.
Yep.
And I think that was either our last or second to last run at that level. Okay. And I think the last decent placing I had was second in the 80 2 or 3 years before. So it's really big.
Yeah.
It was really special.
What kind of time frame did you sort of move him up the grades?
It kind of ended up averaging out 1 a year.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah, very consistent. Just keep being able to.
He just kept on chipping away.
Yeah. And did you ever run into any problems with him training wise, or anything that was really an issue, or you just sort of kept going and
lots. So the main jumping issue was ditches.
Yep.
I couldn't get him near a ditch. We spent ages with Lucy and a whole bunch of people just Paulie Daniel, who's not an English rider but does a lot of horsemanship.
Yep.
Sorry, Paulie, I know you don't like that word. And just working from the ground and on top of getting him comfortable with the ditches, finding why he wasn't liking it, and it ended up being he didn't like not seeing what was under his belly. So we worked a lot on that, and that got a lot better. One of the big issues was stiffness and tension. So he just had so many blockages through his body. So a lot of flat work, training that, physio.
Yep, and who do you use for physio?
Haley Reid.
That's right, yep. And I guess that's
fantastic.
Another thing, again, with thoroughbreds, like, they go one way and they do work them the other way, but it's sort of a lot of the same.
Yeah. And so he I think he's just naturally a very stiff, tight horse. Which is great for some things. Yeah. Maybe not great. It's okay for some things, but when you get into the dressage ring and you've got to be able to bend and flex and use your ribs, and he finds all that very difficult. And I mean, we still come up with those issues now, but we work through them.
So you've just sort of found like problems as you've come along and just
solve, work through them. And one of the biggest ones that we have at the moment is our show jumping. We were really good cross country, and then that we just never really learnt the difference between you can't go cross country in a show jumping round. It does not go well. I can say from experience. So that's something we're working on now on getting together.
And so what I've noticed, and especially sort of following your Facebook In the Saddle with Steph Hann, you've got a really great team around you.
I'm very, very lucky.
So you've got all these people, so whenever you sort of have an issue, you've got the right people to turn to. And has that been a big part of getting him where he is?
Really big. And I think for me, it's about feeling comfortable that you're not going to have... So we have quite a tight team, and we feel like we can talk about... we've just read this article from this German. They tend to be German.
They do. Yeah. They're great for ideas.
They are. What do you think? Or we've had this lesson with this travelling instructor. Yeah. What do you think of this? And the collaboration between, say, our vet and our farrier and our other vet, who talk to each other, and everyone wants the best for the horse, and you don't feel like you have to be really delicate around everyone, because everyone's happy to work together and work with you, and it just lifts you up.
And you've got the same sort of goal, and people you can trust as well,
which I think is so important, and we really think loyalty is really important.
And even I guess that continuity of care, that everyone knows what he's like and what's his normal.
Exactly. And like even the vet nurse, his vet knows him really well, and it's really important for us. Yeah. As long as everyone does their job.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
They've
important.
all got their specialities,
Yeah.
and it's, as long as you've got the right person for their job there, it makes it a lot less stressful.
It does, and you feel like you don't have to
worry
so much over everything. You can kind of
like the farrier looks after his feet,
and
Haley looks after
the body,
yeah.
And while I try and take it all in so much.
And so moving on to last year. So last year was a really big year for you, with lots of ups and downs with Wally, especially. So how did the year start? And
it was like the best start of the year.
Yeah,
It was amazing. I remember it was my first time on a national squad. I remember getting the email. We were at our local coffee shop and I cried.
Oh.
It was just like, oh my gosh, look at my name with all these other people on the EA website. Like, and then we got longlisted for the Oceania team, which was another like
huge
thing that, like, oh my gosh, like, have you seen the people on this list? It's amazing. And then so we got shortlisted, which was just like, all of this was blowing my mind. I'm a small fish from South Australia. This is just incredible. So we were kind of doing all the stuff to try our best to get into Oceania, because that was sort of the goal. And then I got almost exactly a year ago, I got kicked in the arm and just shattered it.
Wow.
So that was 6 weeks before Oceania.
So was that with one of your horses, just one of those freak accidents?
One of those freak things. We're moving the youngsters from one paddock to another. It was a little bit cooler, and they were having a play.
Yeah.
And they just weren't paying attention. And I got stuck in a corner.
It's one of those things that all happen so quickly.
It does. And it's sort of, so annoying.
Yeah. Was that your first thoughts? Or
I was just panicking that, oh my gosh, New Zealand's not going to happen. It's not going to, like, it's just, I just remember thinking, New Zealand is bust. It's just, our year's gone.
Yeah.
So I think we rushed to hospital, many, many hours in the emergency room.
Did you end up having surgery?
Yeah. So I've got a big
big
plate the length of my forearm in there.
Okay.
And I had an excellent surgeon who said, look, you can be back on a horse in 3 weeks.
Wow.
I worked really closely with the selectors, and I tried to keep them informed. I was very lucky to have Scott, who's one of my owners, and he had experience in the Australian team with his previous partner.
Yeah.
So he was really helpful there. I had Wendy and Di helping me.
Yeah. And so
this is with this team coming together.
And Wendy's had experience with
broken
bones
right before a big championship. And this wasn't a big championship, but it was my biggest thing.
Yeah. And you just would want the best lead up that you could.
I wanted a lead up. I was lucky to have Rochelle ride Wally and keep him fit, and Lucy kept him fit with dressage. So we were really good. We had our last run. We were selected, which was amazing.
And how did you go with your arm? Did you feel like it was back to normal enough to ride? Have function with it?
It was functional. Yeah. I had a big sort of brace on it when I rode, more for my sake. So if I fell off, it wouldn't
just break again.
Wouldn't just snap again.
Yeah.
It took nearly 11 and a half months to heal.
Oh, right.
So it's only just been cleared.
Wow.
Which was annoying.
Yeah.
Because there was talk about another surgery and more time off. And it was just, so thankfully, thank you, arm.
Yeah,
it's healed.
Back to normal-ish.
Back to normal-ish.
Yeah.
And so we were at camp. We were there. And we were going to New Zealand.
And where was the camp? It was
Sydney.
Sydney. So you drove over to Sydney?
Yeah.
So did you go by yourself, or
Mum came with me?
Okay, cool. So you packed up the float.
We packed up the float and all ready to go, and it's so much stuff to pack. And the quarantine to get into New Zealand. Yeah. It's bonkers.
What's the process?
Everything needs to be spotless.
Okay.
No horsehair, no dirt.
All right.
Crazy, and then they spray it.
Wow.
And then so we went through all of that, and the day before we were due to leave, Wally trotted up lame.
Oh no! The day before.
The day before they were meant to get on the plane and fly out, and he trotted up and he was lame. Like, this horse nearly never has unsound day. So we thought that maybe this is it. Maybe he's telling us that this is enough.
God, that would have been heartbreaking.
Horrible. Absolutely horrible. And so we had to pull out. We sort of talked to the vet and said, look,
Yeah.
they said it's not soft tissue.
Mm-hmm.
We can feel that it's not. We can't really see what it is. So we had to pull out. The reserve went.
Yeah.
And it was a very long drive home.
I can imagine.
So we did a whole bunch of tests with him to see what it was. It turns out it was a shoeing issue.
Yeah.
So we've, touch wood, fixed that.
Yep. Yep. So again, having your team around, you sort of got home, worked out what the issues were, got on top of it.
Yeah. And that was like everything, even though we didn't get to go, which obviously you do all that build up, all that preparation, all the roller coaster to go. We didn't get the end result. We learned so much. We met so many people.
Yeah, I'm sure. And just the whole process, because I'd have no idea what it takes to get a horse overseas.
Yeah. I was like, wow, there's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot, and I learned a lot about just how detailed you need to be.
Yeah.
Like, to the degree of the angle of the hoof and stuff like that.
Well, that's a great attitude to come out of that, saying, well, at least it was a big learning curve.
It was a big learning curve, yeah. And I must say, it did take us a good few hours on the road of just feeling a bit sorry for ourselves.
Yeah, I can imagine.
We were quite sort of torn up, and then we made plans to reroute to the next one, and then that didn't go ahead because it just still wasn't quite right.
Mm-hmm.
So we fixed it second half of the year.
Yep. And then
it was good.
Your goal then for the second half of the year was Adelaide?
Yeah.
Yep. To get him, he was 3-star?
Yep.
3-star.
New level 3-star,
Yep.
So we didn't have the best run up because things just weren't, some things, little things just don't line up. So we only had 2 runs in preparation for Adelaide from the last Adelaide the year before.
Yep, and this was your first Adelaide?
Second Adelaide.
Second Adelaide, yep.
So he was amazing. We had an improved dressage score, double clear cross country, and a better show jumping round. And he finished exactly the same placing as he did the year before.
Oh, did he?
So he came second in the young rider. And 9th overall, which, considering before show jumping, we weren't sure if he had a overreach, so we spent all night.
He loves just keeping you on your toes, doesn't he?
He says, you've got to learn about these things, guys.
Everything
I can throw at you. So we spent the night with the vets, making sure that he would be happy and safe to compete. So I think I ran out of stress before show jumping, so I was quite relaxed.
Be exhausted at the end of an event like that. Yeah. And I think he also won the best performed off the track thoroughbred as well.
Yeah,
so
in the young rider.
Yeah, so
it's always
huge
nice.
achievement.
Yeah. And he's very, very special.
And the atmosphere of Adelaide must be...
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And how does he cope with that kind of atmosphere? Because I know some horses get there and it's all a bit too much for them.
Cross country, nothing.
He's just a cross country machine.
He is a cross country machine. I'm so lucky.
They never tried to steeplechase him or jump him, did they?
No, I don't think they did. But he just, nothing could take his focus off the jumps.
Yep.
Which is great. He's looking for the next one and always ready. Dressage, must say for Adelaide the first day, there's never that many people there.
Yeah, that's true.
But he handles it pretty well. He's more interested in the jumps that are next to the arena.
Yeah, okay.
It's making him focus on me and not thinking, we might be going cross country. I don't have to go on the dressage ring, do I?
Can't we just go straight to that?
Yeah, dressage is irrelevant. Let's go to the fun stuff.
Yeah.
So he handles it really well.
Yep. Oh, cool.
Short answer there.
No, that's good to know because I know it is such a big atmosphere if anyone's ever been there before.
Yeah.
And so then outside of Wally, you've got some other horses that are coming up through the grades, and
so I've got a young warm blood thoroughbred cross. Mm-hmm. He's really cool. So he's part owned by Scott Donner and is bred by Brockhurst Stud.
Yep, and is that Sonic?
This is Sonic, yeah.
Yep.
So he's really quirky. Yeah. Really fun.
He looks very cute.
He's so cute. He gets away with murder sometimes. So he's sort of the next one. I'm really lucky I have a dressage mare.
Yes.
As well.
Yeah, so you've sort of partnered with Brockhurst and you're getting to do your straight dressage as well.
Yeah, and I'm
doing really well.
So lucky that sort of given me the opportunity to go
Yeah, they've got
through
some
that.
beautiful horses.
I would have the biggest paddocks full of just these amazing youngsters. And then I have a 2-year-old who, a little bit in the bad books. He jumped out of his paddock yesterday.
Did he? Oh, well, at least you know he can
He
jump.
can jump.
Yeah.
He is lovely. He's an absolute delight. And hopefully the next one after him is an off the track. So I've got my long list of horses.
Yes, so
whoever is kind of retiring at the time that I can sort of fit another one in, that would be the one.
The bill. So
I love Wally and I love the off the track mindset.
They've got a great attitude, don't they? Like after they let down and just
chill a little bit.
Thoroughbreds, I can't rate them high enough.
No, and people, especially in Australia, I don't think they think highly enough of the thoroughbred blood in the event horse.
Because I think they're just everywhere, thoroughbreds.
Yeah.
There's just so many people don't rate them as highly as what they probably should. But then you look at the results of, in the world and how...
You look at, I think in I can't remember the exact year, but the top 10 finishes in badminton had over half thoroughbred.
Yeah, all right.
Which, pretty good for them.
Yeah.
Like, it shows that they've
got something about them that they're just for eventing, I guess.
I mean, Wally's never finished a course feeling tired.
Yeah.
So which is really nice cross country to know that you've always got more in the tank.
Yeah, definitely. And for your future, are you sort of looking to, I guess, progress in everything? So the eventing and the dressage, like a bit, Ingrid Klimke style, be a special at both?
Hopefully. I'm lucky at the moment. I've got Brockhurst and Georgie and Scott who are really generous in backing me in both disciplines.
Yep.
And I've got Lucy, who's sort of really on board, and pretty much all of the people that I consider part of my close team are saying, yes, you can do this.
Yeah, you can do it all.
Like, don't just specialise too early. I think a lot of young riders specialise too early.
Definitely.
And I can't see myself eventing without doing the dressage, because that's so interesting, and the idea of Grand Prix and all those higher movements is fascinating, but you can't ask your event horse to do Grand Prix.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, they're built for different things.
Completely different things, and they need different sort of reactions and sort of things like that, but I can't imagine not jumping.
Yeah, okay.
So... I'm a high achiever. I want to do really well. So of course, both
wrong with that. And now you're off to an event tomorrow. You're saying?
Yeah. Off in Victoria, Tonimbuk.
Yep.
Which is going to be Wally and my first 4-star.
Yeah, so that's very exciting.
Yeah.
So what sort of preparation do you need before you head off tomorrow?
So we need to pack.
Yeah. Okay.
But for Wally, we've done a lot of fitness work. That's one of my things that I've gotten away with him, is that I haven't had to really have a good solid regime of fitness work because he's so naturally fit and he's got such good galloping.
Yeah,
he's just been able to keep on going and going.
Okay.
But I don't think it's fair on him.
Yeah.
To say, oh well, move up a level and just keep it all the same.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. You keep doing you, I'll keep doing me, and off we go. So I'm trying to improve the behind the scenes stuff there. So a lot of fitness work, I contact through camp. I had a chat with Sonia Johnston, who helped sort of set up a plan for that, and then working with Wendy Schaefer for sort of arena cross country and the combinations, and Lucy's help with dressage and those sort of things. So
and Wally's a pretty good traveller. He's used to the long drives now, and
he's always been really good. We've really hit the jackpot with him. It's just
apart from that first drive home.
Apart from that first drive home where he just tore up the float, he's really good.
Yeah,
doesn't one foot in each corner and doesn't move.
Yeah, and I guess in hindsight, has there been anything that you found particular with a thoroughbred that's really helped you on your way, or any mantras that you sort of stick with him?
I think for him being a thoroughbred off the track, I think it's given him more tolerance. For me as I was learning. As you can imagine, I made a lot of mistakes. I didn't ride too well at the start. I was learning, he was learning, and he tolerated that.
Yeah.
When you compare that to Malika, who he was preparing me for.
Yes.
And so notice has kind of disappeared from the narrative. She did not put up with anything.
No, if you made a mistake, it's like, right.
I will tell you about this mistake,
Yeah.
and you will hear about it for the next 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Whereas Wally, if I accidentally jabbed him in the mouth over a fence, he'd be like, okay, well, just come around and do it again.
Yeah.
And, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah. And so what would you do, I guess, differently in your training with your next off the track? Now that you've had all this experience.
Yeah. I'd probably focus more on the softness of the horse in general.
Mm-hmm.
I think I sort of took shortcuts that I didn't realise were shortcuts with him early on, so I didn't really focus on the scales of training.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of went, oh, he's on the bit, off we go.
Yeah.
Even though I was holding him on the bit and it wasn't actually on the bit.
Yeah.
So I probably would start and go up sort of more through the rhythm, looseness, contact kind of scales, a bit more carefully, and I hope I would have more skill.
And I guess maybe that's the difference. Like when you have a green broken horse to an off the track, you sort of get on off the track being like, oh, you've been ridden, this many times.
You know the gist of things.
Yeah, but maybe we forget that we should take them back to baby stuff because it's all different, because it's very different, their track work to
them
them
having to sit in the arena and
that's it, and to be
things.
soft and do all these different things. So I guess what you're trying to say is maybe go back to the very basics with them and really get that going before you move along.
Yeah, because the foundation will shake unless you've got sort of that really strong base.
Yeah. And feed wise, have you found anything that's really is he a good doer? Or
he's not really a good doer in that he'll get fat on grass.
Yeah.
But we have a very basic feed regime, so he has calm performer and chaff.
Yep.
A little bit of loosened chaff in the winter and a little bit of beat.
Yeah. Okay.
So for him, that sustains him for competition season, for spelling and hay.
Yeah. So just keeping it really simple.
Really simple. And he has Succeed, which is for sort of hindgut health. Epitalis for his joints, and Equilibrium, which is just sort of minerals.
Yeah.
So for him, all our horses are on that really simple diet.
Yeah, sometimes simple's better.
I find that at least I overthink things.
Yes.
And our sort of first vet, one that he retired, and he just said, look, your horse can function on chaff, loosened chaff, and some oil. Mm-hmm. We wanted to give him some pellets. Yeah, some carb performer. It makes it feel like a nice yummy dinner.
Yeah.
But that's sort of, I think people tend to overfeed.
Yeah, and I mean it's got him up to his first 4-star to like this weekend, and he always looks great. So
always got plenty of energy.
Yeah, and he's a good eater as well.
Yep. He'll eat. He likes to face plant his dinner.
Yeah.
And just stuff as much as he can in. Even though he loses half of it.
Yeah.
But,
it's funny because at the track sometimes they don't eat, but then once they've let down, they're just different horses. So they go from this like, oh no, I can't eat, blah blah. But once they let down, and they're often completely different.
Watching videos of him racing, he looked like a real handful.
Yeah.
What a rat bag.
Yeah. They can be, and that's the thing, like they can be completely different once they've come off the track and just had that time.
Such a sweetheart. He's such a cuddle.
So what else is planned for him for this year? Will we see him at Adelaide again?
Hopefully. Yep. So we'll see how we go at 4-star.
Yep.
Obviously, being his first time and my first time, we're sort of figuring it out.
Yeah, it's something new again to learn.
Yeah, so we don't know if it's going to be sort of too much for us. Mm-hmm. We've done everything we can to prepare, so we'll see how we go.
Yeah.
If it goes well, I'd like to sort of look at Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of really question mark because it's quite close.
Yeah.
But sort of Adelaide, Wallaby Hill, end of the year would be nice.
No, that all sounds very exciting.
I'm very excited.
Yeah. Well, I won't keep you any longer because I know you have to go home and pack.
And get ready to go and get them all ready and set.
Yeah, but thank you so much for having a chat and telling us all about your Wally, and I really appreciate it, and good luck for the weekend.
Thank you. We're excited.